Welcome to another issue of the Cool Tools Show and Tell. Our special guest this week is Patrik Reizinger. And Patrik, would you like to introduce yourself to our listeners and friends?
Thanks, Kevin, for the opportunity to join the Cool Tools podcast. I'm Patrik. I'm currently a Ph.D. student, and I work in machine learning at the University of Tübingen in Germany.
And Patrik, as one of our Cool Tools fans, I'm sure you know what we kind of like. So tell us about your first tool.
So my first tool is related to my life as a researcher. And as a researcher, I often need to juggle around and get to know a lot of papers. And for this, I need to organize these papers and sometimes discover new fields or new topics that I don't know about. And especially in informatics or machine learning, there are tons of new papers released every day. And what I do is I use a free service called ResearchRabbit. This is a website where you can load the collection of papers you are interested in. For example, there are this open source literature management tool called Zotero, and you can just link these two together. And what this means is that you will have small folders of papers in your browser, and ResearchRabbit will basically analyze the citations in these papers. And based on this graph between the papers, it will give you suggestions what you might be interested in.
For new papers that you don't know about, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is sort of like a recommendation system where you have papers that you already know about, you put them in a folder, and then it examines the folder and says, based on these, you should know about this other one here. Is that
Yes,
correct?
That's correct.
And is using AI to do that?
Yes, they are basically analyzing the abstracts and the available text of the papers, right. And from this, they build a graph.
There was, in the past, there were ways that did that with citation indexing. They would map the citations, and they would say, all these, this paper links to all these papers, and this paper here that you link to is also linked to by these other ones, so therefore you should know about this one. And it was done by the citation indexing. Is that what this one uses as well?
I think that there is like the basic functionality, which basically does the same. So there is this kind of deterministic mapping, which looks up each citation from the papers, quite similar to as you would do like a search in Google Scholar or any other database. But I think the main advantage of using such an AI-based tool is that even beyond giving you the network of citations, it will also, based on the keywords in the paper, it will try to suggest related work, which is not cited and does not necessarily cite this paper. So it can kind of expand your horizon where you can look into interesting new work.
And you say it's a free website?
Yes, it is.
And is there an economic model? Who's doing it? Why would they put the work into it, and so forth?
Yeah, so I think it was started like 2 years ago by a very small team. So currently they are mostly based on donations. So I think they don't have a paid tier. Yes, so I'm just checking the website, and I think it's only this free model. In the beginning, they only allowed like academics to enter, but I think currently it's beyond that. So what I think they can benefit from, but I don't know whether they do, is that by building these networks of papers, that is basically giving them data about what the researchers are interested in, and this can guide research into specific scientific topics. And if I'm not mistaken, they have also opened up their database at some point to researchers who might want to collaborate. So I think it's kind of the first step for a longer term goal.
And the name of the service, could you remind me what the name of it is called?
Yes, it's called ResearchRabbit.
ResearchRabbit. And are they hosting in other words, do you have to upload your papers to their server, or is this all being done on your own computer?
So basically so they do not require the PDFs for the papers.
Just the DOIs?
So yeah. So it's basically depending on some sort of identifier, either the DOI or for the archive identifier, because a lot of the papers are nowadays there. And you can also search for title. And basically you just select the links to the papers, and it doesn't need to store the PDFs. And I think actually there is another good point with this tool, which connects to this point of data storage, that actually this lets you share your collections with others, also both privately and also in an open way. So this can have like bigger teams where someone put together a few interesting papers, and then you can just easily share them.
And presumably also you can extract out bibliographic citation, footnoting for your own paper. Can it be used like an EndNote organizer?
So I think from this, what you can do is only to synchronize to another service. I only tried it out in Zotero, so you don't get like a list of papers, but maybe let's just check. Yes. Oh, sorry. Yeah, you can export in different formats, like for LaTeX or even a CSV file, and also you can synchronize with other tools you use.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, that's really great. So it's ResearchRabbit, and it's a free website. It's a great tool for researchers, I would agree. Yeah, well, thank you for that. So, Patrik, what's your second tool pick?
My second tool is also a web-based tool, and it's also connected to research in general. It's called MathPix, and basically this is a quite clever OCR tool, that is all. So it recognizes specific formulas and converts it to LaTeX code. So when I'm looking into a paper and want to write down some notes, I don't need to type in the sometimes lengthy expressions. And this also works for basically you can pick from websites.
And is this something that you use your camera for, or is it you're just cursoring over it and highlighting it? How do you select it?
Yes, so you have multiple options. You have here also a web-based interface where you can upload whole documents, and then you can even convert like whole documents. Sometimes when I have lecture notes only in like a PDF version, then I can convert the whole thing into LaTeX. But I can also basically take a screenshot of part of my screen, and then I will get back the code. And this also has like plugins for different systems. So you don't need to always open your browser. You have it on your desktop basically, and you can configure shortcuts. So if you have shorter expressions, you can just take a screenshot without opening any extended tool.
So it's an OCR that works on mathematics and mathematical formulas. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and it converts these mathematical formulas to LaTeX code, basically.
Can you explain what LaTeX is for those who don't know?
Yeah, so basically LaTeX is a tool or a way of writing specific elaborate expressions, such that you basically write commands to express style changes. So instead of like in MS Word, when you select that, okay, you want italics, you use a command to force the text to be italics.
Right. So kind of like a markup language for formulas and mathematics, describing exactly how, like, say, the calculus summation symbol would be rendered and what follows it and what the orientation and placements are. It kind of standardizes that. It's a markup for that. So they could also work in reverse, right? I mean, the idea would be that if you were scanning or reading it, it's a uniform style, basically. The LaTeX is a uniform style for mathematics.
Yes. That's a much better explanation.
And so this program is able to recognize mathematic formulas and decipher or translate them into standard understanding, and then you can display it. You can import it into your own document, or what would you do once you have scanned it? Why do you want to scan it?
So one reason why I would like to scan it is because if I'm collecting different ideas, then it's much easier to have these mathematical formulas searchable in my document, because then I have I can navigate my document better. And sometimes I also create flashcards when I want to study specific concepts. And for that, I use Anki, which was, I think, suggested multiple times on the podcast. And for that, basically, I have a markdown file where I have these mathematical formulas, and I export it automatically with a plugin. And for this, having nice unified descriptions for mathematics is much better, because then if I want to study these cards on my desktop or big monitor or even on my smartphone, then the rendering will be much nicer as opposed to having a single image.
And I would expect that this ability to OCR mathematics would be embedded in basically your basic OCR programs. I know that there's some built in now to the Mac OS OCRing. Are you aware of whether other OCR programs can handle mathematics in the same fashion, or do you need to have a standalone plugin?
Unfortunately, I don't know whether there are any. I'm sure that they probably are. It's just, for me, this was the first tool I discovered for this purpose, and it was quite extensive. And also, it's a nice thing that they have. So it is multiple options, like free and paid options. And for academics, so that is if you have an institutional email address, then you get basically some sort of premium version free, which is, I think, for students, it could be extremely useful.
And if you don't have an academic email address, is it still free? You just have a less powerful version, or do you have to pay?
So there is a totally free version where basically the limitation is given by the number of PDF pages you can convert, and also like how many these screenshot conversions you can do. And I'm just checking. So the pro version, that is if you don't have an institutional email address and you want more conversions, that is $5 per month. Mm-hmm. So
okay, yeah, it's again another research tool if you work with formulas or mathematics. And again, the name of that, please.
It is MathPix.
MathPix, P-I-C-S or
P-I-X. That is like in Pixel.
Pixar. MathPix, P-I-X. Okay, great. So thank you, Patrik. What's the third tool that you have picked out for us?
My third tool is also an online resource, but this time it is a course. It is basically a networking course from Jordan Harbinger. It is called the 6-minute networking course. And despite these negative connotations of networking, the reason why I selected this is that a lot of researchers, at least I definitely am an introvert. And sometimes I just feel that I need to be made aware that connections are basically the most important thing in research, because that's how you validate ideas, how you get through more of patches of your career. And I think that especially in the more technical domains, several people are introverts. So this very, very short course can give you basically prompts to think about how much you should value your connections, and not in, I don't mean it in an opportunistic way, just to remind yourself, if it's not your cup of tea, that okay, yeah, you need to invest in other people, because that can be very pleasing and it can make your career much more enjoyable, basically, to work with people who you know and who you can like find the common denominator.
So you say it's a course. I
Yes.
mean, that has exercises for you to do?
Yeah, so basically it is composed of short videos, and after some of the videos there are prompts that, okay, this is an exercise that you can do to own your connections, such as, okay, this is what you can do to reach out to people who you didn't heard from a long time. And basically it basically reminds you that, okay, the fact that you met someone once doesn't mean that that will be a lasting connection. If you want that to be a lasting connection, that you need to invest time in it, because it's not like a thing just happening on its own. You need to be proactive.
Okay. And so you watch the videos, you do some exercises, and did you find that it helped you?
Yes, definitely. So there was like an exercise which prompted the participants of this course to basically to reach out, to scroll down in their like messaging apps to the bottom, to the oldest message, and write that people just that, okay, we haven't talked in a while. What's about you? This is what I'm doing. And I find it super useful just to remind myself that, yeah, if there are people who I haven't talked to in sometimes even years, but I enjoy I enjoy talking to them, then I probably should write short message to them again.
Yeah. Okay. And is that also a free course?
Yes, it is.
And what is the name of it again?
So it's called 6-Minute Networking by Jordan Harbinger.
Networking. And it's obviously aimed at researchers, but it could be used by anybody, right?
So actually, it's not aimed at researchers.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's basically for everyone.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So it's just how to network. Okay. Yeah, that could be useful. Definitely. I can see that. That's really great. Okay. So, Patrik, what's your fourth tool?
So my fourth tool is a physical one. It is a headlamp, a very small one. It is of type Wuben H1. So I'm also like
closer. You're holding up a headlamp that you'd wear on your head with a band. It's black.
Yes.
It looks a little bigger than the ones I normally have. It's about the palm size.
Yes. Yeah, it's actually like extremely light. So it's like 54 grams only. Okay. And yeah, and it's super versatile. So I'm doing some running, and basically the reason why I have chosen this is that it's extremely small and it's super versatile. So it can adapt to situations where you need a lot of light, and also to the case when you only need just very little light. So yeah, to the people who can't see it on the video, basically it has 3 straps. So it goes around your head and also on the top of your head. So it's extremely stable, even if you are, for example, running. And sometimes I also wear it under my bike helmet. It stays super stable. And yeah, it has some super cool features. So it has also built in red light, which can be helpful when you are in pitch dark and, for example, you wake up during the night and you don't want to get something which is super bright. Then you can turn it in turn on the red light, and it also has like a blue one, which also acts as like a beacon, a light beacon, that if you keep it on charge, then it automatically turns on. And also you can turn this flashing blue light on, which is it's not bright at all, but when you are camping or hiking at night, then you will be able always to find it. My personal favorite is basically the moonlight mode, which is just another expression for very, very low luminosity option, which I find useful to let other people know in my surroundings that I'm running there, but it doesn't disturb the joy of just looking around and seeing nature at night in the darkness.
So there are a number of head strap headlamps. Did you look at a lot of them, and are some of the features that this have not present on others? How much comparative shopping did you do?
I was looking for this quite extensively, and basically I find this as the best amalgam of lightweight, waterproof, multifunctional lights, which were like, I also asked in the running community, and some people recommended it to me because of its small weight, and actually it can be charged via USB, so even if you are traveling, you don't need to bring any chargers with you. It has a replaceable battery. It is the standard 18650 type, and it also comes with one, so you don't need to purchase any if you don't have this type of batteries.
So it's not using the AAA's, it's using its own internal battery. Maybe that's where they save some weight. But so can we charge with USB, but also a charger as well?
So you can either charge it via USB, or you can remove the battery and then charge it in any charger.
Yeah. And so for you, this was the lightweightness was a primary selecting factor then.
Yes, and the moonlight mode, because I wanted to have a light which is
right. So you could be able to control the amount of light. Okay. And what's that called again?
It is called a Wuben with W, and the type is H1.
W
WUBEN. So it's Wuben H1.
Okay. H1. All right, Wuben H1. And how much does it cost?
So it currently costs $35, and the manufacturer has like a buy one get one free option right now. And as I said, it has so this price includes the battery as well.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's really, really great. The Wuben headlamp, lightweight headlamp for bikers. Does it get really, really bright? Like if you're on trying to do mountain biking on it at night?
Yes. Yeah, it gets up to 1,200 lumens. Okay. Of course, that's only for like a limited amount of time. But the nice thing is that even if you are mountain bike riding and you need extra power, there is like a shortcut. If you basically push the single button this lamp has twice, short after each other, then it turns on this floodlight mode with 1,200 lumens, and then that's...
Yeah. Okay, well, that's great. So Patrik, tell us about your, if you have a passion project or some other mission that you're on, or something that you would like to share with our listeners and watchers. What would that be?
Yes, sir. I started my PhD 2 years ago, and as a first-generation academic, I got into a lot of situations which were rather new to me. And during discussions with other PhD students and also undergraduate, graduate students, I felt the need to share my experiences, the things I learned from other people on my way, and also to reflect some on my on the projects and situations I partook during these 2 years. So I started a newsletter on Substack, which is called the Path to Ph.D. And basically, these are my short writings on useful tools, on practical things I learned during my PhD, and also basically advice I wish I've had when I was looking for a PhD place, and also during like getting into this rather different way of life compared to this more standardized university curricula in the undergraduate and graduate phase.
And do you, in hanging out with other PhD students, do you find that the kinds of things that you are experiencing are pretty typical, or is it very hard to generalize PhD programs?
I think that there are some underlying points which I encountered several times. Often PhD students start with comparing themselves to other PhD students, but I think this is the career stage when there are really no two same paths. So if you enroll in the same graduate degree, then at least there the curriculum is somewhat standardized. But in a PhD, if you continue your master's project, then that's different than starting a new one, moving countries, having a different societal background, different and also different people around you. Because sometimes when you are in a small lab, that poses other challenges and has other advantages, or as someone who has started his PhD during COVID, then that also had its challenges with basically no personal interactions, which made it the baseline to rather focus on your thing. Although, as I highlighted in some of my other tools, that I think that interaction is a very useful thing, because that can stimulate your creativity.
And what's one thing that has surprised you about a PhD program that you did not expect?
I think this was really the power of how much you can learn and how much the people around you can push you to heights you couldn't even imagine. So there was a project that I got involved in my first year, and then I was amazed by how welcoming and knowledgeable the other people in that project were. And although I was the most junior one, they did not treat me as someone who is the junior. They give me all their support. And with this, I think I could accomplish some things which I wouldn't have been able to without the people around me.
And what is your PhD in yourself?
It's in artificial intelligence.
Okay. So that's a very exciting time to be involved in that.
Oh, yes.
I would imagine it's hard to keep up at this point. Patrik, thank you for that. If people wanted to see your Substack, how do they find it? We'll have show notes, but is there an easy way for them to discover it?
Yes, so my Substack is Path to PhD, and also if they Google my name, they will find my blog. So I have links to all my writings there.
Alrighty, well, thank you. That was most informative. I appreciate your sharing those research tools, which can be very valuable for anybody doing any kind of research. And it'd be interesting to see how they're going to be changed now with chat, whether there'll be ways to make them even better. So thank you for sharing. We really appreciate it. And good luck on your PhD.
Thank you very much, Kevin. And thanks for what you are doing with this podcast and sharing these interesting tools. I benefited immensely from it.
Well, thank you so much.
I can give something back.
Well, great. We appreciate it. This year, our Cool Tools blog will be 20 years old, which means we've been posting something new every day for 20 years. It's only possible because of the very engaged and knowledgeable readers and listeners like yourself. You've kept this place going, and we are very grateful for you. With this idea of 20 years in mind, we decided to try an experiment this year, and I'm inviting our guests and listeners to join me on our Cool Tool Show and Tell, which is the program that you're listening to right now. So if you feel you'd make a good guest on this podcast and have 4 uncommon tools that you'd like to share with us, please sign up on our form on the website, and we'll see about inviting you. You must be comfortable talking on a video, and you need to have some tools that you can show. We record on, as you know, on Zoom. We do a YouTube version, a video version of it, as well as an audible version. Fill out the form if you're interested, and list your 4 cool tools, and we'll see if there's a good fit. The applications aren't guaranteed in any way, and we're looking at tools that are new to us and appropriate tools, and whether the times will work for you. So we're really interested in hearing from people all over the world, not just in the US, although the tools have to be available online, easily available online. And if you are a longtime listener, you kind of know what the definition of our tools are. They're very broad. They can be anything that's handy, from something in the kitchen to something you use to travel, to a workshop, to something professional that we may not know about. We're really interested in things that we don't know anything about. So this is an open invitation. We'll give it a try. If you think you make a good guest for this podcast, fill out the form. There'll be a link somewhere on our website, and we look forward to chatting with you. Thank you.